Here we go. We are back with another episode of In My Opinion podcast. I have a very special guest here. Let me give the correct intro. Professional fighter, actress, producer, director. You may know her from such movies as Cade, Fair Trade, and most notably, The Joy Luck Club as Waverly. But the young Waverly, the child that played the chess champ until, with her mother's words, her skills were drained from her, as I like to put it. So thank you for joining us at In My Opinion podcast. It's Vu Mai, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
There we go. We do this little thing on my podcast where it's called This or That. Okay. It's kind of an icebreaker. We've never met one another. I'm doing barbecue edition with you.
Okay. Love
this
it.
episode. So it's pick one or the other, and you could tell me why you would pick it. So are you a tri-tip person or a brisket person?
Ooh, tri-tip. Tri-tip because I'm not a big fan of like the stringiness of brisket. Tri-tip is like, you get that like the burnt taste to it, the fattiness.
You like the burnt ends?
I do.
As well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The crispiness. Okay. So tri-tip all
I
the
will
way.
have to say I'm a brisket person probably if it's a good brisket because I'm originally from Texas.
Okay.
So we do brisket out there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what a tri-tip was till I moved out here at about age 12. So so it's probably brisket over tri-tip if cooked correctly. Otherwise, it's always tri-tip.
Okay.
So I'm interested to know, because this became a big question yesterday with everybody. Are you a carne asada person or a short ribs person?
I need to imagine myself eating it real quick. Carne asada, all the way.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
We all thought you were going to say short ribs because every person I asked yesterday was short ribs, like almost out the box. I was writing the question and my girl goes, short ribs. And I go, you didn't even let me finish the question. And then her cousin was like, yeah, short ribs. And everybody in the house was just saying short ribs. But I guess it's more of an island thing. So they're in the short ribs. And I was and I even asked her cousin, I was like, weren't you raised here in California, man? Yeah. I was like, again, carne asada is a California thing. So I just figured, but so cool. Yep. Good to know it's carne asada. Mm-hmm. We're going to do beef ribs or pork ribs.
Oh. Beef ribs or pork ribs? In any particular manner?
I mean, you tell me. This is what the question's about.
I'm Vietnamese, and, pork is a big part of our cuisine.
Okay.
And so I grew up eating more pork ribs of any way, shape, or form than I did beef ribs. So I want to go with pork ribs.
Okay.
Pork ribs, yeah.
I will say I like pork ribs because I feel like you get way more meat as well.
Yes.
It's less of a struggle. But, again, my girl's family makes some bomb-ass beef ribs.
I mean, that's hard to say no to.
If you know how to cook the beef rib right, I like the texture of beef better than I do pork for the most part. Unless it's like fried crispy pork belly or something, then that's my go-to. But so I guess I'm going to have to agree with you that it's more than likely going to be pork ribs. And again, barbecue, I'm thinking of those type of seasonings with barbecue sauce. They make more of a teriyaki blend for their beef. Okay. And the beef comes out, they marinate it for days. And so
you make me hungry, but yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, we agree on that. We agree on. We're going to have to go to the sides when it comes to barbecue. Ooh, are you more a mac and cheese person or baked beans?
Oh, mac and cheese. Mac and cheese all the way. Yeah.
You didn't even let me finish the question.
Mac and cheese, yeah.
Okay, well then we got to ask what kind of mac and cheese. Do you like the crust on the top? Do you like the crumble shit on the top? Do you want it creamy? And if you want to give shots out to any place where you're like, oh, I go here and they're the best mac and cheese, go ahead. She's on my mama's house.
Actually, I like the mac and cheese that I make.
Okay.
And I like it with the crumbly stuff on top, the buttery crumbly stuff, and it's got to be creamy underneath. Like, there has to be both. It has to be cheesy. Like, I don't like it when mac and cheese skimps on the cheese. Like, it's got to be the cheesy. I mean, that's
part of it, right?
Yeah, but I've had some mac and cheese.
You have to have more than one cheese.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. There has to be like the stringy cheese.
And I'm not talking about the powdered cheese, white people. Okay. So
I kind of like that sometimes too, but
I don't fuck with that Kraft macaroni shit.
No, but you got to have the creaminess, the creamy cheesiness, and then you have to have the stringy cheesiness, and then you have to have like the salty cheesiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like mac and cheese has to be salty.
So how many cheeses do you use in yours?
I'll use like 3 or 4.
And what are they?
So I'll definitely use like a nice sharp cheddar.
Okay.
Okay. I'll use sometimes a Parmesan because that kind of gives that crust at the top.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll use like a Gruyere, which is like a Swiss
Look at you,
cheese.
fancy.
I'm a little fancy. And that gives the saltiness.
Okay.
So what is that, 3 cheeses already?
Yeah.
Yep. And then sometimes I'll do a little mozzarella in there because that makes it very stringy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are you not a fan of Velveeta to put?
Oh,
Because Velveeta can make it a little creamy in there.
I will add Velveeta also. I didn't consider that cheese, but
okay. She's all, I thought we were talking about real cheeses, like made
but
with
no.
milk.
But you do have to have Velveeta in there though, if
Okay,
you want to
okay.
eat it because it gives it that sort of like creaminess to it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with mac and cheese too. Over baked beans, of course, mac and cheese.
Like who likes baked beans?
I like them, but I'd rather have mac and
Yeah.
cheese before that. Potato salad or macaroni salad?
Potato salad.
Because I was gonna do potato salad or pasta salad, but
I'm gonna go with macaroni salad.
really, you're just a macaroni person.
I
huh?
am.
I don't even think it's close if you know how to make the potato salad. It's potato salad and then everything else under that.
Really?
The pasta salad. I'll eat macaroni salad. It's good, but if it's a good potato salad, I'm going back. I'll eat 1 scoop of mac salad, but if it's potato salad, I'm going back for seconds and thirds.
Like mayo-y Hawaiian style macaroni salad is like my favorite thing ever.
Oh, you know what? I just had Ono's yesterday, so yeah.
Yeah.
But again, with short rib, that's what you eat it with. So,
yes.
Yeah, you have to-
Yes.
Okay. Oh, we're done with this and that, but I always ask this question
Okay.
because everybody seems to be stealing it on other podcasts. So stop stealing my question, everybody. I used to use this as a date question, right? Is if you were on death row
Okay.
and it's your last meal and you can get whatever you want to eat by whomever you want them to cook it. And even if they're passed away, as your grandma and she passed away, and my grandma made this. It's all hypothetical because you shouldn't be doing life and going to the chamber, right? So it's any meal and dessert. What are you going to eat?
This is very difficult here. It's a difficult question.
But this is your last meal.
It's exactly it.
Yeah.
My last meal before I die. You know, I would probably, it's got to be rice of some sort. Okay, I'm Vietnamese, so it's got to have rice in it. I would probably, so growing up, my mom used to make this, we call it red rice in Vietnamese.
Okay.
There's no fancy other term for it, just red rice. And it's basically fried rice and you cook it up with a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of tomato paste. It's just really, really good. It's like a fried rice that's sort of sweet.
Okay.
So I'll probably ask for my mom to make that. Oh, a little bit of garlic in it. And her roasted chicken. My mom makes the best roasted chicken.
Roasted chicken and rice. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's going to be your dessert?
My dessert would be a tie. It'd be a tie between like a Homer Simpson donut, my favorite type of donut,
What's a Homer Simpson donut?
with the pink frosting and the sprinkles.
Okay.
Come on, no. It would be a tie between that and like your most generic Betty Crocker, that white cake with the built-in sprinkles inside. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You're real generic with your desserts.
Yeah, with the white frosting.
You have
with
this
the little
fancy
sprinkles.
cheese on your mac and cheese, but when it comes to dessert, you're like, oh, just a pound cake.
But it's got to have the little sprinkles inside of it, baked into it. You know what I'm talking, like the Sara Lee ones or whatever, the Betty Crocker ones? Yeah, that would be my, it brings me back, you know?
I asked my friend Kabir, I think I've said this already a couple of times, but he gave me the funniest reply. He goes, a Big Mac and French fries. I said, why? He goes, because if I order something from my mom and she made it salty that day, I'm going to be pissed off. He goes, a Big Mac always tastes like a Big Mac no matter where you get it from.
That's
and I was
fair.
like, that's funny. So, so shout out to Kabir. All right. We're going to go ahead and get into drum roll. I tell people before there was Crazy Rich Asians, there was this movie. This is the first movie to have such a big Asian cast. Besides, I think it was something called something Blossom that was a musical in the '60s.
Okay.
I have it written down somewhere. But there was the Joy Luck Club. So for the viewers to know, we talked about it off camera a little bit. The way I got you on here is I was watching the movie a couple of weeks ago, and I was just wondering, where's this chess champ at? What is she doing in her life? And I found a website and sent you a message. Didn't think you were going to reply, and you did. And I got super excited. The kid in me was like, oh, my goodness, right? So thank you for joining us, because this movie I have probably seen at least 20 times.
Really?
Yes. Okay. Yes, but I know I look like a thug, and I am. But
Thugs have feelings too.
But as I've said several times on this podcast, I will rather watch The Notebook than a Marvel movie. So when it comes to, I'll watch P.S. I Love You, The Notebook. My favorite movie, if you've never seen it, is Life Itself. Another dope-ass movie on Amazon. But I watch Joy Luck Club at least once a year or once every other year. So we were watching it, came across your info, and you were nice enough to say, yes, you do this podcast. So I was like, man, if I ever get to talk to anybody that was on this movie, I have some questions. So I understand you were the young Waverly in the movie, the chess champ. So you were how old when the movie got filmed?
So that came out in 94. We filmed in 93, so I was 8 years old.
And where'd you guys film at?
My part was filmed all in San Francisco. The film, I think, was probably filmed mostly in San Francisco, because the storyline is based in San Francisco.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's based on Amy Tan's The Joy Luck Club novel. So it was filmed there, somewhere in LA. And I actually don't know if they actually flew to China for the shots that were filmed there in the film. But I would say like 75% of the film was in San Francisco. And my part in particular was filmed in San Francisco.
Now, you did mention the movie was based off of a novel by Amy Tan, right? Was she on set when you guys were filming?
Yep, she was.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, she was a big part of it. They're mostly just to support. I was 8 years old, so I didn't know too much about behind the scenes, but I would say she was there for more than half of my filming days. I was up there filming for a month and a half. And
was this your first movie role? What? And did you know that this movie would be so iconic and touch so many people?
No,
obviously not at 8. You probably didn't think of it, right?
I had no clue.
Looking back now, do you look at it and like, man?
Yeah.
100%.
Like, I was 8, so I didn't know who Amy Tan was. I'd never read the novel or anything like that. It was the early 90s, and so inclusivity with Asian Americans was barely getting started, right? And so I was just mostly happy that I was able to land a role in a feature film at the time. And it wasn't until a little while later that I realized how magnetic of a centerpiece it was for Asian Americans.
Now, I watched, let me see where I wrote on here. Here we go. Because I watch great reviews and breakdowns on YouTube. One of them I want to give the shout out to, because if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it too. This dude breaks down the movie from scene to scene. And it's The Joy Luck Club, The Roots of Asian Representation. Right? And this guy breaks it down. He talks about, I think he even talks about the reason why he believes the film got filmed to begin with, because one of the executive producers was Oliver Stone. Right. Have you heard anything of that in the background?
Actually, honestly, not until we chat the other day. So
and that was the first time I heard about it. So for the viewers, and again, I'm not saying this is correct, but this is what someone threw out, that I guess Oliver Stone made some comments before the movie was filmed, and it was his way of saying sorry. And he pulled in an Asian director to help him film it. And because, again, when movies in the 90s weren't,
inclusive.
Yeah, inclusive at all.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just interesting. And did you guys have a sense of that when you were filming? Like, oh, okay, we're like
Like a sense of
of
his
what it would
position
be
on it?
for the Asian community
I
as
see.
well as, you know, like, hey, if we do this right, we're gonna touch so many people's lives.
Um.
Because I'm assuming that's why your parents put you in the movie, right? Or
Well, yeah,
not
and
put you, but allowed you, and like, hey, you got to go do this.
It was, I mean, you know, like, to just as starters, my parents were always super supportive of me going into this route. You know, to begin with, they were my number one fans, and my parents drove me everywhere and anywhere for this career path. I think at that age, I can't really honestly say like I understood the impact of it on the Asian American community quite yet. I just know that it was very exciting for my parents. My mom, you know, she's read the book, and so she was very excited about it being that kind of project.
She read the book prior to?
Right. My older sister also.
Oh.
My older sister's about 4.5 years older than I am, so she was like, you know, a teen. So I think it was impactful in that way. But at 8 years old, I don't think I quite that wasn't quite here yet for me. You know.
Okay.
I know that my agent at the time was very, like, she really very much emphasized how big of a deal this was, you know. And at that time, I was just like, sure, just put me in a movie. I'll do it. You know, where should I be? What do you want me to do? You know. But my agents were like, remember, this is a big deal. This is, you know, Amy Tan, and I'm like, oh, who's Amy Tan? You know, this is Oliver Stone. This is like director Wayne Wong. Like, this is a big deal. This is going to go places. And so that's kind of where I was at.
Have you always been that it showed in the movie, and I've only been around you for the last half an hour or whatever, but have you always been that outgoing person? Because you did a very good job in the movie as well.
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
you know, it was very believable that you didn't want to play chess no more. The attitude
God.
and yeah.
Am I outgoing in real life? You're asking? Yeah, I am. I've always been like, I'm not shy. You know, I'm not shy. I'm outgoing, but I do have my introverted ways too. You know, I think a lot of creatives are like that, but I've just always been a very colorful, loud person. So you put me in a room, and I will find a friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because people ask me as being a stand-up comedian, they're like, "Oh, you must be funny and the lively part," and I'm like, "No, I'm actually, as most comedians are, I'm pretty dark. I want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And I turn on the switch.
When
Not
you're
that I go
ready.
play a character,
Yeah.
because all my jokes are written in something that I've lived through.
Yeah.
But it's different. Most of the part, you know, people would think like, "Oh, this guy's always gonna." He's just here to make us laugh, and most of the time I'm like, unless you're paying for a ticket, bro.
I'm not your show monkey.
Yeah,
No.
I'm not gonna put on my tap shoes. Like,
No, I am naturally an outgoing, not shy person. Definitely. You know, I love to make people feel good. So yeah, you know, like I
Is
like
that-
to be present and engaging and very much. But I very much am introverted. So once I tap out my outgoingness, I love to go home. I love to be in my own space and be quiet and not see anybody and put on my stretchy pants and be there for
for the rest of the day.
the rest of the day.
This is how I wrote this question.
Okay.
Is your role as young Waverly, where you lost your chess powers? Now, as a parent yourself, do you realize the impact your mother had on you and the impact that you're having on your daughter for instances like that? And before you answer, let me say, one, I'm not trying to get too personal with you, but I have older kids. And I think now that both my kids are adults, I've realized man, maybe I should have done this, or maybe I didn't do that, and because of my relationship with my parents as well, I'm like, man, I try not to pass on the demons. So when my kids think, oh, my dad's a dick, I'm like, dude, I'm giving you 20% of what my parents gave me, bro.
Right. So, okay, I'll kind of answer this in two steps. Did my mother have an impact on me? Oh, 100%. So, you know, I have a very good relationship with my mom. She's my best friend.
Now you're just bragging. No.
Yeah, she's the best mom in the world, literally, you know, but she is, you know.
I'll send that clip straight to your mom.
No, you know, she is my hero. She really is. She graduated med school in France. She went to the university in France.
Okay.
and decided to come over here with my father. And when he decided to go back to school and do his thing, she made the decision to walk away from her career, and she stayed at home with my sisters and I. There's 3 of us.
Really?
And she did it like not begrudgingly or anything, you know. She never threw in her face like, oh, I could have been this or that, you know. She did it like happily.
And your mom's Asian?
She's she is, yeah. She's Vietnamese French. And so she has impacted every part of me as a woman, as a business-minded person in my film career, and 100% as a mother myself. Like, my mother is probably the most influential person in my life in who I am today.
Okay.
Hands down. I cannot give the credit to
Do we need the
anybody else.
tissue already?
You keep going. If I start talking to my daughter, you know.
Which we're getting to.
Yeah.
Because, again, I believe, like, if your parents set the right foundation, everything else makes it a little easier.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I wrote the question. So I'm not trying to say, I just know I'm looking at my kids now, and I feel like I spoil them too much. So there's a fine line as a parent, because you got to let your kids earn something and not give them too much. But
Right.
where's that line at? Because
It's hard. And, you know, like my parents, both my mom and my dad were both influential in my life. But since we're talking about moms, you know, my mom definitely, I can't say that she spoiled us, like, with love. You know, she was very much an advocate of support them where she can, like, support my kids wherever I can. She kind of always gave me the mentality of, it's something you want to do, then I think you can do it. And I will do whatever it is in my power I can to help you do it. Very much so. And if you, can I cuss on here?
yeah.
Okay. You know, and like, if I fuck up, you know, she's like, if you fuck up, she didn't say that. I'm just, in my own words.
Not
She's
your
like,
perfect mother.
You know, my mother would not throw F-bombs. But she was like, you know, if you fuck up, it's okay. Like, it's okay to not be perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think with that, she very, very much built a foundation of being like ambitious, of confidence. You know, you might even say I grew up kind of like almost like in a bubble, because I always felt like she had my back. I was always protected by her emotionally, however she can, even to this day. You know, I'm however old I am now, you know, and when I am in my darkest moments, when I feel like, fuck, I don't know how I'm going to do this, I call her and she talks me through it. She lives up very, very tip-top NorCal, so,
okay.
you know, she's not super close. And she will drop, if she can, she will drop whatever she is doing to come and help me.
Oh.
No questions asked, 0 questions asked, you know. Yeah, it's going to start making me cry. But, and so it really helped me.
So that seems like it was a positive influence for your
It
daughter.
was.
So how do you see that transitioning over? You're like, okay, well, thank God I got the great foundation, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to carry it on to my...
Very much so. And so because of that, you know, I don't know any other way to raise or love my daughter. You know, like, it's the same thing. Oh, look at you. God damn
We
it.
did it. No.
You know, I never feel like I can spoil my daughter too much when it comes to love. I am a little bit harder on her than my mother was, you know,
Okay.
and probably a few reasons. You know, I think sometimes because my mother was so loving, that it kind of made me a little soft as an
Okay.
adult. You know, like, I'm empathetic and I can get my feelings hurt and stuff like that, you know, and I want my daughter to be a little tougher than I am. Which is bizarre, because, like, I'm a professional fighter and
because
things like that. But
I think that's, you know, we're especially this newer generation. By we, I mean, like, me and my friends will shit on the younger generation because
Yeah.
we feel like they're a little soft. But I also tell them, I'm like, we raised them that way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yes, my parents were evil people, but there's certain things that out of that bullshit, it's that Michael Jackson, like his dad beat him into greatness. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm not saying you should beat your kids, but I'm not an advocate for that. But I'm saying there's got to be a middle ground where you got to be a little more disciplined with your children and give them the support that they need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I do, you know, like, my daughter she's an empath just like me. She's got the big feelings just like me. And I like to harness that. I don't ever want her to feel like, oh, I need to, like, put my feelings away and I have to be this tough girl. I don't expect that from her.
okay.
So when she has her big feelings, as she calls it, I allow her to have it.
Cool.
But then I also try to tell her that there's a time and place for your big feelings sometimes, because if you let your big feelings take over every single time, like, it's going to be very hard to go through life, right? Because not everyone's going to be nice. People are going to make you cry. And so you have to know when to, like, let your big feelings take a little nap, and then when you can go home and just, like, have your big feelings overtake, you know. And she's 5, so it's I don't want her to have to think about it too much, but that's sort of how I try to approach it.
And I guess one of the reasons I asked the question was because a big part of this movie is between the mother and the daughter's relationship, and you see how weird and of a roller coaster it is in that movie. So, you know, for you to be in a movie like that and then have to live through it, and now you're living, you know, what's the movie, 30 years ago at this point?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So yeah, you're like, oh. And sometimes I try to tell my kids that. I'm like, you should be able to learn from someone else's mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what 100%. I mean? Like, yes, you're going to make mistakes, but try to be the person that learns from somebody else fucking up.
Yeah.
So,
like, don't be a lemming. I
was like, please, learn from your dad's mistakes, because I've got a lot. So.
Oh, gosh, me too. Yeah.
Like, I even brought up one of the quotes that kind of made me tear up or whatever, right? And it's as the older Waverly, she's telling her mom in the salon, like, you don't know the power you have over me. One word from you, one look. And some of those things is like when I watch that scene, and it's like, it takes me back to my own childhood, where you're like you don't realize the importance of, I'd rather have gotten my ass whooped as a kid, because I'll get over a bruise,
right,
rather than some of the things you might have said or in the way you looked at me. Yeah. So I think it hits me because, again, when I looked at my kids, there were certain things that I did. And I got divorced when my kids were 3 and 7? 3 and 7, I think. Okay. So I just knew, like, at that point, I was like, it's not about the time you spend with your kids. It's how you spend that time with your kids. And I tell all my friends that are going through that or whatever, and I'm just like, dude, just spend the best time you can with your kids, because they'll see it. And both my sons live with me now. They're over the age of 18, and I'm like, I feel like that's how you know as a parent. So if someone hasn't told you, I'll tell you, boo, is if your kids talk to you when they're adults, then you did your fucking job correctly. So I tell all the viewers that. So just you know what I mean? Because so,
man, yeah.
Okay.
We can only try our best as parents, right? You know, like, it's so. When my ex-husband and I got divorced, my daughter was 2.5, you know, going on 3, and you know, with divorce, you live through the guilt of it, right? Because you only want to do the best for your kids, and so I very much agree with what you're saying, you know. And, like, if she's 5, so who knows? She might grow up into adult and just, like, to absolutely hate me. Who knows, right? But,
well, how were you with your mother as a teenager? So you also got to go through that, knowing
right?
That, so.
Yeah, I was a great teenager, but and so when I'm with my daughter, she's with me half time. She's with her dad half time. I just try my best to make sure that she knows that she is the center of my attention. You know, that I'm there to spend time with her, and if I can't, it's because I have to work. You know, and that I explain to her that I'm working so that I can
provide
and things. You know, and she understands like the responsibilities of life or whatever. And at the end of the day, you know, I just have to hope and cross my fingers that when she's an adult, she still likes me. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the little things. I tell my kids. I tell people this is the reason why I do the podcast. I said people are like, why do you do it? And I said, I've realized after the first season that I don't care if you like it, if they. It's something for my sons to be like, oh, I can look back and my dad spent his time talking to this person or that
That's
person,
cool.
talking about. So it's just my anthology for them. So
That's
cool. So I appreciate your time. That's what we're going to talk about. Let's lean over and get out of the emotion, and we'll come back in a minute, right?
Good.
So we can all dry our eyes.
Yeah.
I have to talk about one of the funniest scenes in any movie is in Joy-Luck Club.
Okay.
And maybe it's me too, because I've dated other races. I myself had my baby's mama is Caucasian,
Okay.
and I had to give her, hey, when we go to my family's house, this is what you need to do.
Okay.
Right? So what I'm talking about is the dinner scene in the movie Joy-Luck Club.
Oh.
That shit is hilarious.
You put the
Like,
soy
it's
sauce?
not written to be funny, people, so you haven't seen the movie. But what makes it funny is the truth behind it.
Right.
And how many times he fucked up during the dinner scene. So, one, I need to know, were you able to see that scene when it was getting shot? Or, because I've also realized, seeing that I'm not in the career, people are like, dude, I wasn't even on the set that day.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it wasn't my scene, so I don't...
Yeah. So no, I was not on set that day.
Okay.
So I didn't see them shoot those scenes. You're talking about the one where like he ends up putting the soy sauce all over the
Yes,
food and
yes.
stuff. Yeah. So I wasn't there on set that day, but I laughed super hard when I watched it though, because you're right. It is very truthful. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's like the
think-
cultural clashes of interracial dating and stuff like that, especially for second generation. Not just Asian Americans, really.
Yeah, it's
any
anybody.
color,
Like I said,
right?
I
Yeah.
related it to myself because I told my ex, I was like, look, I know this might not mean anything to you, but one, I said, as being Latino, I go, if you go get your plate
Mm-hmm.
and you go sit down and you didn't serve me, my whole family's going to be like, oh, who's this bitch? And I was like, I'm sorry, that's just the way the caste system is in being
Yeah.
Latino, especially in the part of Texas I'm from. I said, so you should ask me what I'm going to serve. And if I tell you, they might give you a pass. If I go, babe, I'll make my own plate. Or whatever. And I was like, but at least you ask, because their ears are going to perk up.
Yeah.
And they're going to see that you didn't ask and you served yourself and went and sat down. They'll be like, oh, my goodness. I go, second thing is whatever food you put on your plate, you better finish. I said, if not, they're going to tell the whole family how you came over and wasted their food. And I was also watching that scene in Joy-Luck Club. I was like it starts out with him taking the first shot or whatever
Yep.
when they say cheers. And then she was like, I can't believe he did that. We all sipped. And he was oblivious to know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that's where it was funny, because you're like, really? And then what was the next scene? It was the food portion. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, Latinos do that too. Like make sure everybody else gets some,
Right.
and then go back for seconds.
Yeah.
So
And then if there's a last one, you want to make sure like, did you want this?
Yeah.
You should eat this. You should eat this before you take it.
yeah,
for
yeah,
yourself.
and then ask everybody else. Yeah. So, and then the last thing was the soy sauce
Yeah.
on it, where she came out with the plate and wanted somebody else to tell her that her food was great.
Yeah.
And instead, he's like, oh, it just needs some salt. And he pours soy sauce all over it. And I was like, oh, that dude is not welcome at those dinners no
No, he's been X'd.
more. Do you have any experiences like that?
You know, fortunately, no. I'm trying to think, so my ex-husband is Mexican.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, like as you're talking about your experience with your Caucasian
Yeah.
ex-wife, you know, I feel like Latino cultures, Asian, Vietnamese cultures are fairly similar.
Okay.
You know, and so neither he nor I had any issues with the culture clashes. You know, there are a couple of things like how to eat a certain dish and stuff like that. But he knew all the etiquette in terms of like what to ask, when to ask and stuff. And he was like super easy to kind of assimilate into the Vietnamese culture, and vice versa, him assimilating me into like his family, right? So we did not have any of those issues. But
Now, because I just stayed with my girl's family this past few days, right?
Uh-huh.
And I was telling them, I said I had an Indian friend come with me, and I go, I know you guys don't think they're Asian, but they are, right?
Yeah.
I was like, Indians are Asian as well. And I took them home to El Paso, Texas, and we'd go visit people, and he'd take his shoes off every house we came into. By the third house, people came up to me and like, hey man, what's up with your fucking friend? Why does he keep taking his damn shoes off? And I was like, it's a show of respect, bro. And they were like, well, that's disrespectful. Tell them nobody wants to see his stinky socks, right? So you're telling me you and your ex never had any of those issues where
Oh, but the shoe thing, I guess a little bit, you know, but it was not a big
because I know when I
deal.
go over my girl's house,
Yeah.
I make sure I don't wear no holy socks or anything. So
So,
I gotta make sure that they're good socks where I'm like, I know I'm leaving my damn
yeah,
shoes off.
It was a pretty open dialogue between the two of us. He already kind of knew the whole like no shoe in the house thing. And so like when we had his family over or his parents over, then I just made sure that I had like in-house slippers or something like that, so that if his mom or
So
dad
you
took off
take
the
your shoes off at your house?
I do.
You do?
100%.
Even when you guys were together?
Yeah.
So he assimilated to you then?
In
Or
that
he
respect.
did that already?
Well, because we dated for a while and
Okay.
then we got married and stuff like that. So I guess you can say he assimilated to my
okay.
culture in that way, and it was not a big deal for him. And then when his parents came over, I just made sure that I had, because he was like, oh, my parents might not be super comfortable just walking around in their socks and bare feet or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I just made sure that there were in-house slippers for them to wear in the house.
Okay.
So they never felt like they were
And that's
actually
the
barefoot.
way my girl's family is too.
Yeah.
They have like boxes of slippers for
Yeah.
guests and stuff.
Yeah, so it was not a big deal.
I was like, okay. Like,
So I got lucky in that way.
are you a chopsticks person?
I am.
Oh God, me too.
I am a chopsticks person.
Like, you guys realize that forks were invented, right?
But chopsticks are
It's
so
easy.
precise,
Did your man use? Did your ex? He use chopsticks too?
He used chopsticks, yeah.
Yeah. See, he's just trying. He's just trying to make you happy. That's what men do. See that?
No,
We'll assimilate to what they fuck they do.
But I ate my tacos away, with the folding of the tacos and things like that. So we understood each other's cultures,
Wait, what? Oh, no.
like taco etiquette.
What's the taco etiquette?
You go over there and you get the lime and you make sure you
Okay.
get the cilantro and you have to like hold it a certain way.
Okay.
You don't hold it like a sandwich. You gotta hold it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess. And, that was the other thing I told my ex. I go, you realize, because, again, you got to understand, like, when people think Mexican, I'm like, not every Mexican is the same. Where I'm from, it's like Chihuahua, Mexico.
Okay.
So this part of California is Baja, Mexico, right? So, like, out here, you guys do fish tacos, stuff like that. We don't have that in Texas.
Yeah.
So one of the bigger things, there's two big things. Is one, like, the burrito culture is different out here. You don't put everything in a burrito in Texas. My mom gets so mad when she used to come visit and be like, why are they putting rice and beans? And I'm like, you asked for it. We're at Chipotle. Like,
Well, first I'm in Chipotle, but
yeah. They want everything separated.
Yeah.
And the reason they want everything separated, because, again, that part of Mexico uses a tortilla like a utensil. So you just grab it and you eat it. You grab it and you eat it. So that's one of the biggest differences too. So,
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
So yeah. So
Now I'm just hungry, but yeah.
I think you were just hungry before we started. So, all right. How did I write this one? It goes, in the movie there was a lot of scenes that played the heartstrings, maybe because of my own fractured relationships. But let me ask you, what scene gets you emotional watching it?
Oh. I'm trying to think back on the scenes that made me cry the hardest. And so I can think of two really poignant scenes. So the first one was that scene where, this is like back in time with one of the mother characters when she was younger. And, she was she was an opera singer. She had like a kind of like a piece of shit husband who ends up cheating on her with another opera singer. Remember that character?
Yeah.
And she's like at home and she's giving her baby a bath and she zones out.
Oh, yeah.
And the baby like basically drowns. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, sorry. But oh man, like that scene really got me. So there's that one, and then the other scene where another one of the mother characters when she was younger and she had to basically leave her babies because she knew that she might die. This is when they're like in China. And she puts her babies and she takes off all her jewelry and she has like a little handwritten note and she puts in with the twin babies. And then she's crying and she leaves. Yeah, those two scenes.
That's why you're into this fighting shit, huh? Because if anybody messes with your daughter, you're fucking them up, huh?
Oh, yes. I'm putting all my jewelry and I am scrapping. And no one's coming out alive.
Taking them earrings off.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go, goddammit.
Yeah, no one's coming out as alive.
Oh, okay. Well, I asked that because there's two scenes for me, right?
Okay.
There's two scenes. It's one when like Waverly Mom, I think it was a narrating voice, but they're at the salon or whatever, and the daughter's like getting on her ass about stuff, and she goes, the quote is, she goes, I could see her face looking at me, but she really wasn't seeing me. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, like, it's so the simplicity in what she just said,
Yeah.
but you go through life sometimes and you're like, man, you're with someone at the time, or maybe it's a, you know, a relationship with your family or something, and you're like, dude, I see you, but you're not really, you're looking at me, but you're not seeing me.
Yeah.
And that one just hit me because it, you know, I go through life sometimes where I'm like, man, these people are just around just because they're around sometimes. So I think it hits a little bit hard hearing stuff like that in the movie where it choked me up a little bit. So that's one of my favorite scenes. And then the one that hopefully I can get through is when Rose and her mom, towards the end of the movie, are having that conversation in the kitchen. Right?
Yeah, I remember.
And Waverly, not you, but the older one, right? Was a bitch during the movie, right?
Yes, she was.
At the dinner, and they were going back and forth, and the mom says something like she has style or something or whatever, right? And Rose gets pissed off because she thinks the mom is siding with Waverly. Okay. So then they're in the kitchen and they're washing dishes or whatever, right? And then she asks her if she sees her again, right? Like, I think that's a theme throughout the movie, and the mom goes, yeah, like, and the way she answers it back is such a motherly answer, and I think that's where it hits me sometimes, is because she starts talking about how when they were passing out the dinner, everybody got the best crab, right?
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And then she's all, but I noticed you went after the worst crab, right? And she's talking about Waverly, and this is where she takes her jab at Waverly, is she goes, Waverly took the best quality crab. You have the best quality heart.
Right.
And that's where I get a little choked up, because I'm like, man, I wish my mom could see me in that way, where I'm like, when it comes to like me and my siblings, I'm like, look, man, I know I'm the most hardest working person on trying to make relationships work. And that's the part of me where I'm just like, you know, so I think it chokes up me when I think about it, because again, it goes to me, if you knew me, Vu, I'm not about materialistic things. Yes, I might have some nice shit like everybody does, but I tell my kids too, like even for their birthdays, I make it a point where I don't get them something big, but we spend time together, because those are the things you're going to have when dad's gone, is these memories. And I'm like, so even when my friends come over for their birthday, hey, what should I get your kid? They want to see you there. That's their gift. And I was all, these memories, that's their gift. And we'll sit around, we'll play board games, we'll do something, and that's it. Because, again, when it's all said and done, you never see a U-Haul following a hearse. You know what I mean? You can't take that shit. So I think it's about leaving memories, at least for me. So I don't know if you feel the same, or
100%. 100%.
Or you're like, give me the material shit.
Like, give me all the bling, and no way, 100%. You know, like my parents, you know, because so my parents came over to the U.S. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. You know, my dad started from scratch. He started at the community college level, moved his way up, ended up going to med school. He's now a physician. He's an anesthesiologist, and doing very well for himself. But, you know, he started later in the game, so there was a very large part of our childhood where my parents were broke. And they were lucky that they had my dad's parents, my grandparents, to, like, help them.
Okay.
You know, but if you ask me about my childhood, I would not have even been aware of any, like, sense of being poor or not having anything, because my parents always did such a good job of making us not in a want for anything. You know, my dad was super busy going to school, going to med school, and like I said, my mom filled in all the holes wherever she could. And it was always about, like, spending time together and quality time. 100%.
And I think Asian families do that really well when it comes to a sense of community. I said it several times over this past weekend. Is we went out together as a family. There was 8 of us in the van, and I told them, I said, hey, you guys, I appreciate this time that we spend together, because we've been out 4 hours, and there wasn't a big argument. Yeah. There wasn't. I was like, I wish my family could do this. I said, there would have been a fist fight in the parking lot at the end of this shit. Where,
I mean, don't get me wrong. My sisters and I fought. Like, we got in arguments. But no, you're right. I can't speak for all Asian cultures, but definitely in Vietnamese cultures, yeah, family is everything. Family is first. And so I am the same way with my daughter. You know, I can provide for her all the fun things where she wants them, but it's all about, like, are we laughing? Are we having a good time? That is, like, all that matters. She and I can be, I don't know, choosing what cereal we're going to eat tomorrow morning for breakfast, right? And I still try to make it into an adventure. I always ask her, do you want to go on an adventure with mama? You know, and I'll take her with me. And I make sure that we're having fun in whatever way, shape, or form. Whatever game she wants to play as we're driving. You know, I try really hard not to let her be on the phone watching movies when we're driving. So I put songs on, we sing, I explain to her about the songs, we dance in the car. You know what I mean? If she wants to play I Spy for 2 hours, I will play I Spy for 2 hours with her and try to make it fun. And yeah, it's all about the memories.
Yeah,
so I agree with you.
Yeah. I used to take my kids to the park. It was cheap too. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Especially like a young age. I mean, you've got 2 of them. You remember, kids don't need a ton of stuff.
They don't.
They don't. You buy them toys sometimes, and like
they don't even want it.
They don't want it. They'll play it not in the way it's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
Or they'll play with it literally for 20 minutes and then forget about it. You know, so they'll be just as happy with a tissue box.
I mean, now they're gamers, so now that's all they do.
So that's expensive. We'll talk about that's another story.
Expensive, but yeah, when they were younger, it'd be like, hey, you know, let's all go on a bike ride and then go to the park and you can play on the swings for a little bit and then we'll bike ride home.
Yeah.
And it was those things, like I said, it's making the good memories for your kids. All right. This one, I said I had something in this bag, but before we get to it, what was your first in front of the camera thing that you did?
Ooh. Let me think. That was a long time ago.
Was it commercial or movies or?
So the very first time I was in front of a camera, I did it was a Pac Bell commercial. Do you guys remember Pac Bell back in the day? Yeah. It was a Pac Bell commercial. Filmed in LA, probably. Some soundstage. I'm gonna guess. I was maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, thereabouts. That's about all I can remember. I remember pretending like I was throwing a softball. But yeah, that was back when Pac Bell still existed and had commercials nationwide, that kind of thing. Yep.
Okay, I had to order this because I couldn't find one. So, but I found this one. So, you tell me if you remember this.
I'm a little scared. Oh my god! I knew it. I was like that. Okay, I knew it.
Let's show the viewers.
Oh,
Is
yes.
it PJ or JP?
PJ Sparkles.
PJ Sparkles.
Yes. Oh my god, PJ Sparkles. Does she sparkle?
And she lights up.
Does she? How do you light? How do you do this?
You didn't get the nonstop like.
Oh yeah, so you
gotta hit the back.
PJ Sparkles, Mattel's PJ Sparkles.
So tell us a little bit about this commercial.
Oh gosh,
how'd you get that commercial? And again, back then they weren't letting little Asian kids on commercials. So let's just be honest about it.
I was the exotic. I was the exotic quota.
It was like,
they had to fill.
She's Latina.
Yeah, I was the non-blonde quota they had to fill. But so I got my start in the film industry. I don't know for those of you guys who are younger, probably will not know what I'm talking about. But do you remember Star Search?
Yes.
In the 90s?
Uh-huh.
So my older sister read her YM magazine or something, it's the 90s, and saw this like Star Search out in LA. And so she did it. I was much younger, so I did not participate. But she did it with her friend, and this big acting school in LA, I don't know if it still exists now, asked if she wanted to join their acting school. And so she went, and they asked if I wanted to join. I was like, sure, why not? I've always loved to sing and perform and all the things. So I went to this acting school, and there every month they have this showcase where like the largest casting directors and agents and managers come there, and we put together whatever we can, and if they like you, then they sign you. Oh. And so I don't even remember what I did, but I did something, and I landed an agent. And that's kind of how I got all these little projects I did, commercials, all these little projects like these commercials. And so that's how I did this, how I landed this Mattel PJ Sparkles commercial.
So did they give you a bunch of these?
They did not. No, I got no merch out of.
You got none? Not
Nothing.
even one?
Nope. I did not get to go home with a little PJ Sparkles doll. No. It's the 90s. Like, good job, Asian child. So you can go home now. Be glad you're on this commercial. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was a very good set. I had a lot of fun. It was me and like maybe 3 other young girls my age, and that was probably my first like biggest project. Maybe I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because honestly, I just found it on your Instagram. You posted something on it, and I was
I
like,
can't believe you found one of these though. Like, I've actually never played with one of these.
never.
No.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Can't take it home. I'm just kidding. I'm just really kidding.
I was gonna offer. I was like, if you guys want it, but obviously it's used. I couldn't find one in a box that would get here fast enough and all that.
Do they still exist even? Can you buy these?
Yeah, I think I bought it on eBay or something.
Okay,
So,
okay.
So, but I was like, I'll
Oh
have
my
her
God.
sign it. But then when you told me you had a daughter, I was like, maybe she'll want it. So
Oh.
you figure it out, right? If you guys want it, you
awesome.
take it.
Okay, thank you.
It's part of her mommy anyway, so she could
Okay.
have it if you want it.
That's amazing, man.
But I went over a friend's house and then we started talking about it,
Uh-huh.
and she was telling me how her sister was a little blonde girl or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
her mom wanted to buy her one, but she bought the generic version or something. She was like, "Yeah, mine didn't have sparkles on it, but it lit up somewhere else or
It's
something."
like PJ Smiley, not PJ Sparkles.
It was the Tamu version of it.
Hey, don't knock to me, okay? They have quality stuff on there.
Maybe clothes, right? Because
Yeah.
in female clothes, when you go to Forever 21, you know what you're wearing it for. That one night and that's it.
Yes,
So.
exactly.
But all right. I just had to bring a blast from the past.
Oh my God, this is like a total blast. I am impressed.
All right. I guess we're gonna go ahead and switch over
Okay.
to the reason why we're here. I guess the reason why we're here.
Like, why are we
for,
here?
For
Okay.
the right. It's PTC Boxing
Uh-huh.
here in La Jolla. This you're half owner of this gym, right?
Yeah, I own this gym with my my ex-husband, and we have a partner also.
Okay.
James as well,
So
yeah.
third owner, whatever.
Yeah.
Some kind of ownership in this gym, but we're as you guys can have seen throughout the scene. There's a ring behind us because you was a professional boxer.
I was,
You were.
yeah.
So how did you get into that? What do
Mm.
you like about it? I know you told me that this was probably your outside of having your daughter, your
Mm-hmm.
biggest accomplishment and the thing you're proudest about. So here's your time to talk about it.
Oh gosh. So how much time we got now? So let me think. That was a long time.
Let's start from the beginning. At what age did you start then?
I was 21.
Oh,
Just
okay.
turned 21. Just turned 21.
Okay, and then why'd you get into it?
I was so. There's the
had a
the
bully?
short. What's that?
You had a bully?
I was bullied when I was younger, kind of. So I'll go with the kind of topical question. The topical short answer is, I've always been athletic and I always liked doing sports and that kind of thing, and was just looking for something different. And there was like the boxing club franchise, as you may or may not know, and there was one here in PB, and so I joined that gym and actually met my ex-husband there. And he
Okay.
was the Muay Thai and boxing coach, main Muay Thai, main boxing coach at that gym at the time. So I met him and just was training with him and the team. And then he kind of came over to me one day and he was like, you want to fight? And so mind you, at the time, I was under 100 pounds with clothes on. And I'm 5'1", 5'2" on a good day.
So you were 4 pounds lighter.
This charming guy here, but yeah. So I was itty bitty, and so I looked at him like, sure, because at that time you're thinking of fighters, you're thinking of like
Yeah.
big buff dudes, and like I would never really thought of myself as like a fighter or anything, and I was like, sure, my crazy ass was like, sure, why not? Stepped in the ring for my first fight, and it's been like that ever since, and he's been my coach ever since.
Huh.
Yeah. The darker answer to it is, I guess you can say I had a bully. So this is something that I've kind of come out talking about fairly recently. I am a victim of rape.
Okay.
It happened when I was in college. I was 19 years old. And I've had a pretty dark past in terms of like sexual molestation and stuff like that. So I've always had those like kind of demons in me, I guess you can say.
Okay.
Right? And always had this sort of like anxiety and tension in me and did not really know where to go with it. And I went to therapy and all those things, and I did the support groups and stuff, and that very much helped me. But when I started boxing, when I started fighting, like that was very much an outlet for me to kind of get that out there. Yeah. And it was this very understated, like I didn't really understand or fully digest where it was coming from. I just knew that that was, like, it felt good. And I didn't even care whether I won, like I was never the most skilled boxer or anything like that, I've heard it so many times. Whatever I had in the ring, it was mostly heart,
Okay.
And so those were kind of the things that pulled me into or pushed me into this realm. And my ex-husband very much was the facilitator for that. He was there for me to kind of that outlet. I found myself with a little kind of gym family, other like-minded people, other crazy people like me too, with their own demons and stuff. And eventually he and I and another partner at the time opened up this place in 2010. Oh. And I've
so you're using this as some of your therapy.
Yes, in its own way,
and it's a positive therapy, right?
Very much so.
Did you ever get any of that resolved? And I'll get into why I'm asking you that
in a
moment.
Yeah. So yes, in that it helped me keep very focused, very disciplined. It kept me from rebelling in the ways that I felt myself kind of going towards, And so I always tell people, like, my ex-husband and I are not married anymore. We had our own differences, but I will always forever be grateful to him. And I will always love him. I'm just going to cry too. As a human, because he was very much there for me for that.
Yeah.
Like he was that outlet for me. Yeah. He was that, that sort of focus and that guidance for that.
Okay.
It kept me from going into the dark places that I probably could have gone to.
And I guess I asked you, I'll say it, but I don't know if I'll keep it in. I'll be honest, in the video, because I haven't gotten it okay. So, like I said earlier, before we were off camera, I said I'm dealing with some dark shit myself, where I asked that because my sister just recently came out to me and said one of my family members sexually abused her. Yeah. And the pain that my sister has is carried over to me, because I know she just wanted to say something, but the way the rest of the family has dealt with it is irritating or upsetting, to say the least.
Okay.
Like, there's an anger inside of me that I'm like, I don't need to see you guys, because one of us is going to jail and one of us is going to prison, and I can guarantee I'm the one walking away in handcuffs. So so that's why I asked, because the more I hear women talk about it, so if you don't mind talking about it a little bit,
sure.
When it comes to the rape issue, it feels as if you guys get put off, or people don't believe you, or if they do, it doesn't fucking matter. Because I've had other families like, well, that was 20 years ago. And I'm like, did you really say that? Like, I went off on one of my aunts on some shit like that. And she was like, and I said, yeah, I hope you get raped. And I was all, because again, it's the more we talk about it, I feel for a woman when you're put in that position, because who do you go to, man? Who the fuck do you go to?
No one, really.
So just keep it bottled in. So
yeah, it's and unfortunately, it's often done to you by the people that you probably trust the most. That is the sad part of it. It's rarely where you're just walking down a dark alleyway and some serial rapist comes in, grabs you, and rapes you. That's a rare case. Yeah. It's more likely than not done to you by someone that you let in. Yeah. And so for me, it was very much that. It was someone that I trusted, and he betrayed my trust. And I'll just put it that much in that way.
Okay.
And so, and even as a child, I was sexually molested, and again, somebody that I trusted. And the problem with this is that if it's done by some big bad guy, it's easy to resolve and understand in your head, like, oh, bad guy did bad thing, okay, punish him, right? But when it's this weird gray area of like someone that you trust, a friend, a family member. You start having these questions in your head, especially as a young woman, a young girl, like, oh, is it my fault? Is it even something bad? Maybe it wasn't even bad. Maybe I'm just overreacting. You know, these are the questions that you ask in your head. Maybe I did something and he misunderstood me. Or maybe it's not really rape because he's someone that I am like sexually intimate with. So is it really rape? You know, you ask all these questions and you feel like you start questioning yourself.
So what would you suggest to someone who is just, this has just happened to them then too? Because again, I think women need to hear from other women. Like,
it's a long journey, and it will never feel.
You'll never get over it, but look for the support, or
yeah, you'll just get. You'll have to. I think therapy is a very ideal thing, and I'm like a therapist who specializes in like victims in this area. That's what helped me a lot. You know, join support groups. You talk to other women who have been in the same situation, other rape victims, other victims of sexual abuse. That has helped me a lot. And retelling the story over and over and over and over and over again. Like, you know, I'm 40 years old, and I am now just able to talk about it openly. You ask the questions, and I can talk about it. That this happened probably within the past 2 years.
Oh. Okay.
And unfortunately, I would have to say a large part of any failed relationship I've had probably has to do with this.
Oh.
Because of the inability to talk about it, because you don't even know where to begin to talk about it because it's so taboo, right? You say the word rape and everyone's just like, you know, you say it with your family too. Everyone just like, it's like like you just threw up in public. You know, people either they don't want to hear it, or they will overreact and be like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? You know, and neither of those things make you feel better as a victim because it's already happened.
So what would you suggest on the other side? I ask people too, because people, my sister has had 2 decades plus to deal with this, right? So everybody always asks, well, one, it wasn't you, so why do you care?
Yeah.
Why? Because I've gone to, the only reason my sister came out and because she heard there might have been another victim recently within the last 5-6 years, and she's like, the only reason I want to say something is because this person has done this several times.
Okay.
And so when I tell people, and I've gone around and gotten the evidence needed to do something about it, but the last victim doesn't even want to. She's like, hey, when I spoke up, nobody wanted to fucking hear me. Like, she goes, I got my own kids, I got my own life going on, I don't want to say nothing. And it's frustrating because, again, I'm walking around angry because I haven't had 20 years. Right. And yes, I'm not the victim. I know. Please don't ever think like.
Oh, like I understand. Yeah.
But so for people like me, knowing about your situation, what advice would you have for them to be like, you know, because I'm just trying to. But I said I haven't really stepped right because again, since my sister has told me, again for me it's trying to figure out, let this marinate for a little bit, like. Because I feel like the older brother where I'm like, I need to help my young sister.
Right.
But I can't. So. And
so it's, you know, you can't have a fix-it attitude because there's nothing to fix, right? You have to just be able to, and if she's open to it, obviously, ask the questions that you need to ask. Ask all the questions. Because the more you ask, the more you talk about it. For anybody, whether it's a victim or a person in the family of a victim, the more you can address the elephant in the room, the easier it becomes. And when I say easier, it doesn't mean like, oh, suddenly you don't feel bad about it anymore. You will always feel like shit about it. I guarantee you. As her, she will feel like shit about it till the day she dies. But, and I don't know how far she's coped with it or where she's at in her healing process or whatever, you know. But I have gotten to a point where I can talk about it and not cry. I've gotten to a point where I can talk about it and not feel angry or upset. I have my little moments, you know, and you need to be able to get to that point also. And in order to get to that point, you have to be able to ask the questions and know that you're going to get angry. You're going to want to kill the guy. You're going to want to punch something. You're going to want to cry. You're going to lose sleep and you're going to feel like shit. And you're going to feel like shit. And you're going to feel like shit. until you won't feel like shit anymore because you've talked about it so much.
Yeah.
And now it's just like kind of this established thing. Now it's out in the open.
And I think for her, I don't feel like she'd have satisfaction if this person went to jail.
She would not, you saying?
Yeah, I don't think she would. I think she'd have more satisfaction in the fact that he wasn't able to do it to somebody else.
I can
If
agree
that
with
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. 100%.
So I feel like she's like, the dude's going to live his life. But if long as he doesn't hurt somebody else,
Yeah.
that's what matters to me. And that's, again, I've reached out to other family members just to tell them, like, hey, this dude comes around. You got young kids, or you got this, or don't let this motherfucker around you.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I know. It's a long process, and it's gonna be a long process for you too. Because you care, and no, of course, okay, you're not the victim, but you're a victim in your own way, right?
Yeah.
Because now you have that emotional burden of like, well, fuck, I wish I'd known. This is your sister, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm her brother. I should have protected her. I should have been there for her. All those times, it's been 2 decades. She's been holding on to this 2 decades. I'm just learning about this now.
Yeah.
Like what kind of brother am I? That option, that choice was taken from you because of this person who decided to treat your sister poorly, right? To put it very lightly.
I think it hits harder because, I got kicked out when I was 15. So I lived in 3 different states my senior year in high school. I've been on my own. I've done my own thing. So to hear this from my sister, it was kind of, I was estranged from my sister for maybe 27 years, something like that, right? And we hadn't talked for many years. And finally, I reached out, and she came to visit over Thanksgiving. And it was Thanksgiving night a couple of years back, and she was drinking, and then towards the end of the night, she was like, I know you know. And I was like, no, what? And then she got into it, and I was like, huh? What? Like wait,
like,
what?
I didn't know.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And so it's just been hitting me since then. And then after that, like I said, I've been trying to gather up. Where she was like, there was one person that was confided to about this situation back then. Found her, got her statement, and say, yeah, I remember this happening. Blah blah blah. So it's trying to put all the little pieces of the puzzle together. Where I'm like, okay, all we need is the last victim to speak up. And hopefully this won't, but the last victim doesn't want to speak up right now. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. Where at least for me, I feel like I've showed my sister, this is as far as I've gotten. Now what do you want? I said, I can tell you now, I can't go to Dallas anytime soon because I'll beat this motherfucker's ass. So.
And that's fair. And that's fair, And
so anybody, if you want to see me in Dallas, do stand up, come to San Antonio. All right.
yeah.
Or enjoy the show because that'll be the last one you see.
I'm leaving in handcuffs. So. Yeah.
So it's premeditated now that I got it on film. Huh? Jesus.
You're like, just kidding. That absolves everything. You say, just kidding.
All right. Only got 2 more things to talk about. Okay. Unless you want to talk about more. It's up to you. It took a weird turn right there.
It's all dark and stuff.
Yeah. I said I was going to cry, not you. So, seeing that that the film was made in the early 90s, at least back then, Asian actors and actresses with shows didn't have that oomph. Right now, you guys are hot. You know what I mean? You have what was it? Squid Games.
Yep.
Dope fucking beef.
Which is, so bizarre you're talking about because I just started watching it last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I'm so behind.
How many episodes?
Like, literally watched one. I'm on halfway through the second episode.
And I only say that because I thought it was kind of... I watched like the first half of the first episode and I turned it off. And somebody else told me you should watch it again.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, dude, this... And I was like, okay, I'll finish watching. They were like, you got to finish the first episode. And I was like, by the end of the first episode, I was like, no, this shit is dope. Like, I was like, why the fuck did I turn it off too early?
Yeah,
so,
no, I'm the same way.
Oh,
and I'm
a
little bit late in the game, but it's so... You're talking about it because I just started, like, last night.
And
started
now
watching it.
they're, they want to make a movie. They
Yep,
want to
and
do all
season
this
2's
extra.
coming up this year, I
Season
think. Yep.
2, like, because I love those twists in the movies
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, what is it? I'm trying to think of Sixth Sense
Yep.
or
A M Night movie. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. A little twist in the movie. And then there's the show Beef, which I got to give a shout out to one of the comedian legends, Ali Wong. Hella
Yes.
funny.
Yep.
You know,
I love her.
from San Francisco, Bay Area in the house. But where do you see film going, and do you think the representation has further to go?
So I'll answer that second part first. Yes, I do think there is much more progress to be had in terms of like inclusivity and all of that. I am happy where it's going. Yes, Asians are much more represented. There's blind casting and all of that, and so you see like shows like Bridgerton, and you see different people of different races and different ethnicities playing roles that you would not have seen otherwise. So I'm very happy for that. Bravo. But I do think there's still much more to go. I still get typecasted all the time.
And what would you? And again, I'm not trying to get you to lose any work out here.
Right. I love everything that I'm doing. I mean, yes, you can't be picky and
Because
choosy
I know if I
sometimes.
was in the movie, I would be the gangbanger.
Right.
I'd be the person selling dope or something. And that's why I personally don't want to do film. Where I'm not saying every Latino actor does that.
Right.
Because there's Michael Pena. If he ever wants to be on the podcast.
I love that. He's like one of the best underrated actors. 100%.
Yeah, he's done it all.
He's like in every movie too. Yeah.
One of some of my favorite movies too. So, but I feel like they typecast us Latinos too.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
So,
And still so.
because we don't have universal appeal, is what they call it, right?
Yeah.
So to go back to your answer, you feel like you guys should get a little more work, right? Let's start there, Hollywood.
I mean, things are slow in general right now, right, in LA. So not a ton of people are working globally. But to answer specifically about representation, I mean, yeah, not just for Asians, for Latinos, for all, like for Black actors, right? I think there's much more progress to go. 100%. I think we've just scratched the surface, to be quite honest with you. So.
Yeah. No. And so where the film industry, so I hear, again, I'm not in that industry, it's changing a little when you have these streaming companies like Netflix, Hulu, this, that, and the other. Do you feel like they're willing to take on different kinds of projects now? Or is it still... You still got to get an okay from somebody up top.
Definitely still need to get the okay. It is definitely changing. You have this weird sort of bifurcation of things now because things are so slow and the environment's very interesting right now. I'll just say that. I don't want to say weird or anything, but you've got your big you still have the blockbuster like Marvels and stuff like that. The ones that they spin out there because they know it's going to make money. Mm-hmm. And then you see these sort of like very largely indie projects coming out, like A24. It's not so indie anymore because I feel like it's become a much bigger production company, but like offshoots of like A24. And so right now it's like this weird difference of like the big Hollywood Marvels and the sequels and the sequels and the sequels or remakes. And then you have this like kind of indie platform. And a lot of it is like self-funded stuff, especially down here in San Diego, you see a lot of like the indie self-funded stuff kind of coming out. How far it'll land, I don't know, because at the end of the day, it's still a money thing. You need to have a budget in order to do things. But that is becoming a much bigger thing, I feel.
But do you feel also like, I feel the fact that the independent people, like doing this podcast, I get to put it up. I don't know how many views I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But the benefit is I don't have somebody telling me, like, if I had the sponsors, then hey, no cursing, hey, no this, no. Right. And it takes away from it, I feel, especially being a stand-up comedian. That's our number one thing is like, I should have freedom of speech up here.
Oh, 100%.
Like you shouldn't be judging my joke unless it's just a horrible joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's benefits on both sides, I believe. Where,
100%.
Where you might not get the distribution you want if you're independent, but you don't have the headache neither.
You don't, and you know, because you're seeing this rise in like a lot of indie stuff, and with the accessibility of streaming platforms, it's becoming easier to get distributed, right? Because now you've got things
Tubi.
like Tubi,
Yeah.
you know, and Amazon is actually not pretty stringent. They're not that stringent about like what they will put out there, and so you just kind of have to know how to go down the chain of things, right? It is much more accessible, and then you have like YouTube TV is huge.
Yeah.
Right? And I know people hear YouTube and they're like, oh, but you, like, especially if you ask what's the youngest generation right now? Gen
Z?
Gen
or
young ones? I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like an old lady. I'm like, whatever, this new,
Yeah.
right? Like, these streaming platforms, they're on it all the time. You know, like, people aren't going to the theaters as much anymore.
Yeah.
Even past, like, the Hulus and the Netflixes. Like, YouTube. You know, my nieces and my nephews are on YouTube all the time. You know,
All
and they
the
can name
time.
off of YouTube stars all the time, you know? And so, yeah, it's much more easy accessible. And you don't make the millions of dollars like it used to be like in Hollywood, but it's entering people's homes. People are watching. People know who you are, you know? It's just a very different environment now.
And seeing that you've been in both, you've been in independent and you've been in big films. Tell me your pros and cons on them.
I mean, it's my experience in
Like,
the
we got all the good food at
yeah, you get all the T-bone steaks and so yes, when you have the bigger projects, the non-indie projects, especially if it's like backed by the union like SAG or something like that, then you are more protected. Right? I put that in quotes because there's such a wide variety of different unionized projects now. But you are more protected in terms of hours that you work. Yes, food on set. You know, what's in your contract, how you're getting paid, things like that. Right? When you work indie, it's going to be a hit or miss. If you're lucky and it's a hit, then you hit the jackpot. You're in this indie project and they treat you well and they actually pay you, and you're treated fairly on set and you work good hours and stuff. But then on the other hand of it, you do get a miss sometimes, right? Where like you're not getting paid much, if at all. Shitty work environments, you know. So it's more of a gamble in the indie platform. But with that comes a certain level of, freedom. You know, a lot of the indie projects I've worked on, I can take my daughter on set and I can tell my guy I can't really work on Mondays, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays because I have my daughter. Can my filming dates be on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? You know, like I have these little things. You know, if I'm working on a big project, like you don't want
No
this?
flexibility.
Yeah, you don't want this, I'm going to go get someone else, right?
Yeah.
So...
They do that in comedy too.
Yeah,
Club.
it's the same, you know? And so for me, like, I appreciate that's kind of where I came from, the big Hollywood and the big projects and the big budgets and stuff like that. I very much have appreciation and love for it. You know, the old Hollywood, all that stuff. But I am 100% a supporter of, like, the indie platform. Because if I didn't, a lot of these really beautiful, creative projects would not ever even get made. Right? Mm-hmm. So, you know.
All right, we're going to veer into the last topic of the podcast, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you.
Okay.
Is I tried calling people, I tried getting some information. I thought I was going to woe you, but instead you're going to have to woe me.
Okay.
Excuse me. And as I told you on the phone, I know I'm going to try to pronounce Vietnamese correctly.
You did it.
Yeah. Because I just say Vietnamese and it's my country where they're like, you're gonna. So sorry, people. Right?
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
can we talk about your culture background a little bit?
Okay.
Just because, again, I tell people growing up in El Paso, Texas, you're either white or really Mexican.
Okay.
That's it, right? And I didn't learn about other cultures till I moved to the West Coast when I was 12, and then I was like, oh, Filipinos have some bomb-ass food. Oh, Vietnamese you guys have great fucking spring rolls and pho. But that's why I wanted to talk about it because, again, I don't want to just tell you how I go eat pho once a month. And you're like, okay, everybody eats that shit now, right? So what do you wish, like, America, like middle America. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Because like when I tell people, I'll have that conversation. Hey, you want to go have Indian food? Nah, I don't like it. I'm like, have you ever tried it? No. And I'm like, so how do you know you don't like it? Because butter chicken is the shit, right?
Oh, good God, yes.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Here we go, talk about food again. Make
Yeah,
me hungry,
yeah.
yeah.
So I just feel one, when you learn from other cultures, you learn about good food,
Yeah.
especially. So what can you tell me about growing up? Assimilation, the things that you're like, oh, you know, I wish Americans would have this part of our culture.
So my answer could be a little biased because, like Southern California, it's such a melting pot,
Yes.
right? So, I mean, there are good Vietnamese restaurants
Everywhere.
everywhere, especially Orange County area,
Oh, okay.
right? You go to Santa Ana, it's like basically little Saigon over there. So Vietnamese food is pretty abundant down here. So it's a little biased.
Okay.
Um,
Top. Let's start with food then.
Okay.
Top 3 to 5 foods.
Vietnamese,
If
top
you've
3 to
never
5.
had it, again, we're talking middle America that doesn't have it out there.
Okay, let me
Come
think
out,
here.
you go to Santa Ana, which is right next to Disneyland, and you're like, man, I would need to try.
So, Vietnamese pork ribs. Oh, sorry. Those are good too. Vietnamese pork chops are really, really good. And so you can have it in 2 ways. You can have it in like the bona fide pork chop form with
Okay.
like the bone and stuff like that. Okay. And it's marinated in fish sauce and in garlic and sugar and all the good stuff. And they grill it and eat over broken rice and a little bit of this like fish sauce dressing.
Okay.
And like fresh tomatoes and lettuce and stuff like that. So good. Or you can get it in like, it's almost like a meatloaf form. A pork
meatloaf?
meatloaf, yeah. And kind of marinated the same way. And it's just like so good.
What's the meatloaf version called?
It's called pork meatloaf.
She's
But
like, I
in-
just told you, you idiot.
But in Vietnamese, it's called thịt nướng.
Okay.
Thịt nướng. Remember this, guys. But it's just like ground pork, and they form it into this little patty, and it's got like fish sauce and sugar and all the good stuff in there.
Okay.
And again, you eat it with rice, like broken rice. So it's basically, broken rice is like regular rice, but like the broken parts of it. It's like tiny little pieces of rice. And you eat with this dressing and stuff like that. So that is one. There is, from the central region of Vietnam, there is this spicy pork soup. So eating pho is good. This is like good. It's called bún bò Huế. And
Say it one more time. So,
bún bò Huế.
okay.
And it's from the central part of Vietnam. It's a spicy pork noodle soup. And it has these like kind of fatter noodles. And it's got like all different types of beef, pork, hocks. It's spicy. You eat with a little bit of lime. It is so good. It's like my favorite dish, probably.
Sounds good.
So that's number 2. 3, the Vietnamese crepe. I don't know if you ever had it.
No.
It's like this crispy, yummy crepe. It has turmeric in it, so it's kind of yellow. And in it is pork and shrimp, some bean sprouts, a little bit of coconut milk in the batter. And they fry it up and they fold it over, so it's like this kind of like big, gigantic crepe.
That's called a taco. No.
Okay, fair. But it's like crispy and it's like savory and it's so good. And then in Vietnamese, it's called bánh xèo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are dishes I feel are underrated, not spoken about often enough. Those are my 3 top.
All right. I guess I'm going to have to, hopefully they have them where I'm at. You know.
Yeah, and if you go to most most Vietnamese restaurants here in San Diego, they'll have one or 2 of the dishes I'm talking about.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
And what's your daughter's favorite?
Oh, my daughter's favorite.
I say that because, again, your ex, she said is Latino. I'm assuming he's maybe giving her fidel,
Oh yeah.
right? So, and I tell people, I was like, that's our like spaghetti. And I go, where I have not met a kid that doesn't like fidel.
She's okay with it. Her actually favorite, I'll go to her favorite Vietnamese dish, but her favorite Mexican dish, one of her favorite Mexican dishes is her tata's nopales.
Oh, okay.
Nopales with pork over rice. She loves it. Loves it. When she goes to her dad's house and like her tata's like, what do you want me to make? She's like, I want nopales with puerco. And that's what they make for her. So that's her, for now, her favorite Mexican dish. Her favorite Vietnamese dish, she really likes this dish called bánh bột lọc. and it's like a tapioca starch. Gosh, I don't even know how to begin to describe this, but it's like a tapioca starch dough, and we stuff it with pork and shrimp. So pork is huge in Vietnamese cuisine, huge, huge, huge. And then we wrap it up in banana leaves. And it's like this big, and then we steam it, and then we eat it with like fish sauce. Fish sauce just makes everything go around in Vietnamese cuisine, and it's got this sort of like kind of chewy, soft texture to it. It's super, super savory, and she absolutely loves that dish. So my mom will make it. I don't know how to make it. I feel so. I know how to eat it, but my mom will make it, and then when she comes and visits, she'll bring down like a bunch of it, and she leaves it in my freezer for me. So when my daughter's here, then I'll just kind of.
And how do you cook it?
I'll just re-steam it, or you can just if it's already cooked, you can just re-microwave it. But if it's not cooked, then you steam it in banana leaves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's delicious. She loves it. That's her favorite right now.
All right. And so we talked about food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about other additions from your culture that you're like, man, I wish you guys did this too?
What do you mean?
Like just like what do Latinos have? Like, see, I didn't really grow up Latino, so you know, like I don't like hearing an accordion. Like, please shut that off.
That's so funny.
I hate Mexican music. I hate it with a passion. Yes, I'm a straight hip hop head.
Oh man, it's funny you talk about accordions because the first time I went to Mexico City, I stayed in an Airbnb, and out in the courtyard was this guy playing the accordion.
Yeah.
And when the first night, I was like, this is so cool. I'm like, I love this. I love the sound. I love the song. And then by the third night, my ex-husband and I were like, okay, you know what? I think we're done with this accordion song. You know, like I think we can do without this.
I only say that because this weekend they were talking about how the Mexican neighbors sometimes like play fucking music starting at like 6 a.m. to like 4 a.m. on the weekends.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, that's my people. And I was like, but I'd be the first to go over there and be like, can you shut that shit off? Like, I hate that music. So
Put some Easy
I
on.
said, yeah, unless grandma's in the kitchen making tamales, then I don't want to hear Mexican music. So that's Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve alone, goddamn it. So where, you know, like Indians have Bollywood or something, you know, when I go eat my Indian food, that's the only time I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty entertaining, some of them videos.
Yeah.
Right? It's like their Indian
Indian
version of MTV or whatever.
I love Indian Indian music though. It's so beautiful. But
Well,
yes.
I tell them, I said again, I don't know if you know this, but during the day, I'm usually a nurse, right? So when I tell Indians, I'm like, I work with you guys a lot, right? You're my doctor, Dr. Singh, usually, right? So,
That's fair. That's so fair, yeah.
and I go, Indians and Latinos are kind of the same. We both like to overdrink. We both like to make babies. The only difference is you guys can afford your goddamn kids.
Oh man, that's good.
So there's just little things where I try to find. That's what you do as a stand-up comedian. Is you sit here and you observe the world around you, and again, I don't understand racism to me because it's normally Trevor Noah has said it best that he goes, people are normally racist because they haven't lived around it. When you're embedded into something, you're like, oh, we're all just a little different, but we're all fucking people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, oh, that food is good, or that thing is good, or something different. Where you're like, man, like I was cooking yesterday, and I asked them if they had Old Bay, and like they knew what it was, but normally I ask people, and they'll be like, I don't know what Old Bay is. I'm like, you never had a shrimp boil? I was like, that's the seasoning in it. And I was like, but that seasoning, when I was in the military, one of my black friends was like, hey, man, you got to use Old Bay on your crabs. And I was like, well, what is Old Bay or whatever? I didn't know that growing up. And I go, but since then, I use Old Bay on everything. Like, I was like, because it's like seasonal with a little kick to it, with a little more spice to it. So I'm like, shit's delicious. Like, so,
I mean, the good food is good food. Doesn't matter where it comes from for me. Yeah. I love food.
You're a
Talk about
foodie?
food all day. I am a foodie. I can talk about food all day. I love cooking it. I love eating it. I love talking about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if you had a potluck at work, what's your to-go-to dish that you're bringing?
Oh, that's hard to answer because it just depends on my mood. Because I love to cook so much, you know, so it just depends on what's
Because I ask it that way because normally people have this to-go dish where they're like, they got to try my bam. You know what I mean? Like I make good potato salad. So
Okay.
if that's normally what I'm going to sign up on the list, but like I'm bringing potato salad.
I'm usually like I'm a baker,
Okay.
so I will bring any form of a pastry of some sort or like a cake or a dessert. That would be my go-to. My mom, so my background is I'm Vietnamese, but my parents are Vietnamese French. Like all my mom's side of the family, for the most part, I have some family in Canada, some in Germany, but are from France. And so growing up, French pastries were a big thing in our family, and my mom makes like the best baguettes, the best croissants, the best pain au chocolat. I try to follow her footsteps. I am not the best at it, but I love to dabble in it. And so that's usually kind of, I guess if I had a go-to, it would be some form of that, like a quiche or...
You're a baker, yet I don't see any cakes or pies or nothing for me. Okay. You know, I was a big boy. I got to eat.
Oh, I feel bad. Yes. I will
I'll
send
send you
some.
my address. And then
I will
it
send
to
you
me.
some.
So, all
Yeah.
right. I'm out of questions.
Okay.
I would love to have you back on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Another time. Thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate you too. And I thank you so much, really, to have me on here.
My main man, Big James, the comedian Big James. Get up